Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon and watched the stars pass by. Through the main screen, his ship moved slowly through the Kepler sector, far from Earth and far from any other human worlds. The mission was simple: look for useful rocks and metals that Earth needed for building more ships. It was not exciting work, but someone had to do it. Lisa Chang sat at her station and checked the navigation charts again. She had been Jake's navigator for 3 years now, and knew how he liked things done. The ship moved in a careful pattern through the asteroid field, scanning each large rock for valuable materials. Most asteroids held nothing useful, but sometimes they found something worth mining. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange on the long-range scanners," said Danny Rodriguez from his engineering station. He was young but good with the ship's systems, and Jake trusted his judgment. Danny frowned at his screen and adjusted the controls. "There's a big asteroid about 2 hours away, but it's showing some weird readings." Amy Bell looked up from her communications desk. She was responsible for keeping contact with Earth Command and other human ships in the area. "What kind of weird readings?" she asked Danny. Her job was usually quiet since they were so far from anywhere that regular radio signals could reach. Danny shook his head and pointed at his screen. "The scanner says it's mostly rock and ice like normal, but there's something metal inside it. Something really big, and the shape doesn't look natural." Jake walked over to look at Danny's readings. The asteroid was huge, almost the size of a small moon. The metal object inside looked like it might be some kind of ship, but that was impossible. No human ship had ever come this far out, and alien ships were just stories from old movies. "Ryan, what do you think?" Jake called to his science officer. Ryan Parker came over from his station, where he had been studying rock samples from their last stop. He was the smartest person on the ship when it came to understanding what they found out here. Ryan looked at the scanner data, and his eyes got wide. "Captain, if these readings are right, that object has been inside that asteroid for a very long time. Maybe thousands of years." "That's impossible," Lisa said. "Nothing could survive that long in space." But Ryan was already running more detailed scans. "The metal shows no signs of human construction techniques. The shape is all wrong too. Look at these curves and angles. No human engineer would design something like this." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. First contact with aliens was something every space captain thought about, but never expected to actually happen. "Amy, send a message back to Earth Command. Tell them we found something they need to know about." Amy started working on her console, but shook her head after a few minutes. "We're too far out, Captain. It'll take 6 hours for any message to reach the nearest relay station, and then another 12 hours to get to Earth." "Send it anyway," Jake said. "Danny, how long to reach that asteroid?" 2 hours at current speed," Danny replied. "Should I change course?" Jake thought about it. Earth Command would want them to investigate, but they would also want them to be careful. "Change course, but keep us at a safe distance. I want to get a closer look at this thing before we do anything else." The next 2 hours felt like the longest in Jake's life. The crew ran every scan they could think of, but the mysterious object stayed mysterious. It was definitely a ship of some kind, but unlike anything in their computer databases. The design was smooth and organic looking, more like something grown than built. When they finally reached the asteroid, Ryan's scans showed that the ship was buried deep inside the rock. "It looks like the asteroid formed around it over many thousands of years," he explained. "The ship must have been floating in space and slowly collected dust and debris until it became completely covered." "Any signs of life?" Jake asked. "Negative on life signs," Ryan said. "But Captain, there's something else. I'm detecting what might be an airlock or entry port. Part of the ship is very close to the asteroid's surface." Jake made his decision. "Lisa, find us a good place to land. We're going aboard that ship." Lisa worked her controls and found a flat area on the asteroid, near where Ryan's scans showed the buried ship. The Horizon landed gently on the rocky surface, and Jake assembled his landing team. He took Ryan to study whatever they found, Danny to handle any technical problems, and Amy to record everything for Earth Command. They put on their space suits and took cutting tools to break through the rock. It took 3 hours of careful work, but finally they cut through to the ship's hull. The metal was dark and smooth, unlike anything they had ever seen. Danny found what looked like controls near an opening that might be a door. These symbols don't match anything in our databases, Amy said as she recorded everything with her helmet camera. Ryan ran his scanner over the hull and got excited. Captain, this metal contains elements that don't exist naturally in this solar system. This ship definitely came from somewhere else. Jake took a deep breath and pressed what he hoped was the door control. To everyone's surprise, the door opened with a soft hiss of escaping air. Emergency lights came on inside the ship and they could see a corridor leading deeper into the vessel. Well, Jake said, let's see what secrets this thing is hiding. High Counselor Zefkar felt his four hearts beating faster as he read the emergency report. His scaled hands shook slightly as he set down the data pad on the Great Council table. Round him, representatives from 12 different species waited. In the circular chamber that had been the center of galactic government. For over 40,000 years, the chamber was built to impress visitors with its size and beauty. Tall columns reached up to a dome that showed the stars of the galaxy rotating slowly overhead. Each counselor sat at a position that represented their species' place in the galactic order. Zefkar's position at the center showed that his people, the Vraxians, led the council. Fellow counselors, Zefkar began, his voice carrying easily through the chamber's perfect acoustics. We face a crisis that we have long prepared for, but hope would never come. Counselor Murthala of the Aquatic Depths species moved forward in her water-filled chair. Her tentacles twisted with worry as she spoke through her translation device. The humans have found one of the old ships, she said. Our monitoring stations in their space detected the activation signals 3 hours ago. The other counselors began speaking at once, their various languages creating a chaos of sound until Zefkar called for order. Yes, the humans have found a predecessor vessel, not just any vessel, but one of their command ships from the final days. A young counselor from the insect-like hive collective clicked his mandibles nervously. How is this possible? Our calculations showed they would not reach that sector for another 1,000 years. Humans are unpredictable, replied Counselor Vorth of the stone-skinned granite worlds. We have observed this many times. They advance faster than our models predict, and they explore in directions that seem random. Zefkar activated the chamber's central hologram and showed an image of Captain Jake Morrison and his crew exploring the ancient ship. The counselors watched in silence as the humans used tools to cut through the asteroid and enter the vessel. They are already inside. Our long-range sensors show the ship's systems are coming online after 50,000 years of dormancy. Murthala's tentacles turned dark blue, a sign of deep fear among her people. Do they understand what they have found? Not yet, Zefkar said, but they will. The ship's computers contain records that will reveal everything, the true history of this galaxy, the real relationship between our species, and most dangerous of all, the truth about human origins. The chamber fell silent. Every counselor knew the secret that had shaped galactic policy for millennia. Humans were not the primitive species they appeared to be. They were not recent rivals to the stars. They were the children of the predecessors, the ancient race that had once ruled the entire galaxy with wisdom and power. Counselor Drex of the Warrior Blade Clan stood up, his metallic armor clanking. We should destroy the ship and eliminate the humans who found it. A quick strike would solve this problem and start a war with Earth. Murthala replied. Human governments would demand to know what happened to their exploration ship. They would send investigation fleets to that sector. Zefkar nodded. Murthala speaks truth. We cannot simply make this problem disappear with violence. We tried that approach 12,000 years ago with the Kelth species, when they found predecessor ruins. The war lasted 3 centuries and ended with the complete destruction of their civilization. The young hive counselor buzzed anxiously. But if the humans learn the truth, everything changes. They will discover their genetic heritage. They will realize that their rapid technological advancement is not natural evolution, but the awakening of programmed abilities. They will understand that we have been controlling their development. Worse than that, added Vorth, they will learn that their current limitations are artificial. We have been secretly interfering with their research to slow their progress. Once they access predecessor technology directly, they will advance centuries in just years. Zefkar activated another hologram showing Earth and the surrounding human colonies. Look at what they have already accomplished with restricted knowledge. In just 500 years since they developed space flight, humans have established 17 colony worlds. They have solved energy problems that took other species millennia to understand. Their ships travel faster than should be possible with their current technology level. Because their technology is not really current, Murthala said quietly. Their minds carry genetic memories of advanced science. Every human innovation is actually a rediscovery of something. Their ancestors knew. The counselors studied the display showing human space. Their territory was still small compared to the great galactic civilizations, but it was growing fast. Human exploration ships pushed outward in all directions, mapping new star systems and claiming worlds for colonization. We have another problem, Zefkar continued. The ship they found is not just any predecessor vessel. Our records show it was the flagship of Command Prime Jake Morrison, and his crew now have access to navigation charts showing the locations of hidden predecessor facilities throughout the galaxy. Drex slammed his armored fist on his chair. Then we must act now. Send the fleet to human space and contain them before they can reach those facilities, and reveal to every species in the galaxy that we have been lying for 40,000 years. Zefkar replied, the moment we attack humans without provocation, other species will ask questions. They will investigate. They will discover that we have known about the predecessors all along. The chamber buzzed with worried conversations as the counselors realized the full scope of their problem. For 40,000 years, the Galactic Council had maintained order by keeping certain truths hidden. They had told the galaxy that the predecessors were a myth, ancient legends with no basis in reality. They had encouraged the belief that current galactic civilization had developed naturally through evolution and exploration. But the truth was different. Every major species in the galaxy was descended from or had been uplifted by the predecessors. The predecessors had not disappeared. They had transformed themselves and scattered their children across suitable worlds to wait for the right time to return. Humans were not just descendants of the predecessors. They were the predecessors, placed on Earth in a form of genetic stasis that would slowly reawaken their true abilities. What are our options? Asked the Hive counselor. Zefkar looked round the chamber at his fellow counselors. We can try to contain the humans and hope they do not learn the truth. Before we find a permanent solution, we can reveal everything and hope that humans will accept guidance from the current council. Or we can prepare for the return of our true rulers and hope they show mercy for our deception. Murthala's tentacles coiled tightly. There's another option. We could help them discover the truth gradually, on our terms. Guide their awakening so that they see us as allies rather than obstacles, and risk them learning that we have spent 50,000 years keeping them ignorant and weak. Drex growled. No predecessor descendant will forgive that betrayal. Zefkar closed the hologram display. The chamber returned to showing the peaceful rotation of stars overhead. But every counselor knew that peaceful times were ending. We will monitor the human exploration of the ship. We will prepare our fleets for any necessary action. And we will hope that 50,000 years of rule has prepared us for whatever comes next. Admiral Kate Sullivan read the message from Captain Morrison's ship for the third time and felt her blood run cold. She sat in her office deep beneath Luna Base, surrounded by walls of metal and rock that kept the outside world from seeing what Earth Command was really doing. The message was impossible to believe, but Jake Morrison was not the type of captain who made up stories. She activated her secure communication system and called her most trusted advisors. Within an hour, Dr. Helen Martinez arrived at the base, along with Professor Carl Johnson, Dr. Nina Foster, and Colonel Alex Turner. These four people knew more about space exploration and alien contact protocols than anyone else on Earth or Luna. Show them the message, Kate told her aide. Dr. Martinez. Read the report twice before looking up. This is either the most important discovery in human history or the most elaborate hoax ever attempted, she said. Helen was Earth's top expert on ancient civilizations and space archaeology. If anyone could understand what Jake had found, it was her. Professor Johnson studied the images that Jake's crew had sent along with their report. The symbols on the ship's walls were unlike anything in his databases of known languages. These markings show mathematical precision, he said. They're not random decorations. They mean something important. Colonel Turner focused on the tactical implications. If this ship is real, and it's as old as Captain Morrison thinks, then we're not alone in the galaxy. We never have been alone. That changes everything about Earth's security situation. Dr. Foster was already running genetic analysis programs on her portable computer. The crew reported finding skeletal remains inside the ship. If I can analyze those remains, I might be able to determine what species built this vessel. Admiral Sullivan made her decision. Helen, you're now in charge of Project Deep History. Your job is to learn everything possible about this ship and what it means. Carl, I need you to decode those symbols. Nina, analyze any biological material Jake's crew brings back. Alex, work with me on security protocols. If this discovery is real, we need to control who learns about it. Dr. Martinez nodded. I'll need a full research team and access to the best equipment Earth has. This kind of analysis requires specialists in multiple fields. You'll have whatever you need. Kate replied, but everything stays classified at the highest levels. We don't know how other governments might react to news of alien contact. 3 days later, Captain Morrison's crew returned to Luna Base with samples from the alien ship. They brought pieces of the strange metal hull, data storage devices that might contain alien records, and small bone fragments from the skeletal remains they had found. Dr. Foster began her analysis immediately and got results that made no sense. Admiral, these bone fragments are definitely organic and definitely very old, but they're not alien. According to every test I can run, these bones came from humans. That's impossible, Helen said. Humans haven't been in space long enough to build ships like the one Jake found. Nina ran her tests again with the same results. I've compared these bone fragments to genetic samples from every human population on Earth. They're completely human, but they carry genetic markers I've never seen before. It's like they're human, but more than human at the same time. Professor Johnson had better luck with the alien symbols. They're not completely alien after all, he announced after a week of intensive study. These symbols share structural patterns with ancient Earth languages, Sanskrit, Egyptian hieroglyphs, ancient Chinese characters. They all have elements that match these alien writings. Helen stared at the translation work Carl had done. You're saying that alien symbols are related to human languages. I'm saying these might not be alien symbols at all, Carl replied. I think they're human symbols from a time period we don't know about. A time when humans had technology far beyond what our history books tell us. Colonel Turner brought even more disturbing news. Our intelligence satellites have detected unusual activity around the solar system, ships moving in patterns that suggest they're watching us. The ships are too far away to get clear images, but they're definitely there. Admiral Sullivan called a meeting of her research team. Let me understand what you're telling me. We found a ship that appears to be both alien and human. It contains human remains that are genetically impossible. The symbols are related to Earth languages, but far more advanced. And now we're being watched by unknown ships. Dr. Martinez had been studying the data storage devices Jake's crew had recovered. Admiral, I think I know why nothing makes sense. These storage devices contain star charts, maps of the galaxy showing locations that have been marked as important. Earth is on these maps, and it's marked with the same symbol that appears throughout the ship. What kind of symbol? Kate asked. Helen activated her display screen. A symbol that translates roughly as home or origin point. According to these charts, Earth isn't just another world that developed intelligent life. It's marked as the source of something that's spread across the galaxy. Nina Foster looked up from her genetic analysis. Admiral, I need to show you something. I've been comparing the bone fragments to genetic samples from populations all over Earth. Most humans show no relationship to these ancient remains, but some do. What do you mean some do? Kate asked. Certain family lines carry genetic markers that match the ancient bones. The Patterson family from North America the Chen family from Asia, the Okafor family from Africa. Maybe 3% of Earth's population carries these markers. Colonel Turner understood the implications first. You're saying that some humans are descended from whoever built that ship. I'm saying some humans might be the same species that built that ship, Nina replied. The genetic evidence suggests that modern humans are a mixture of Earth evolution and something else, something that came from space a long time ago. Professor Johnson had translated more of the alien symbols. The more I study these writings, the more convinced I become that they're instructions, technical manuals for operating advanced technology, but they're written in a way that suggests the readers already knew the basic principles. Helen Martinez had been quiet during this discussion, but now she spoke up. I have a theory that explains everything we've found. What if humans didn't evolve on Earth naturally? What if we were placed here by an advanced human civilization that existed long before recorded history? You mean ancient astronauts, Colonel Turner said. I mean ancient humans, Helen replied. Humans who had technology we've forgotten. Humans who traveled between the stars and established colonies on many worlds. For some reason, they left Earth and told their descendants to wait until they were ready to rejoin galactic civilization. Admiral Sullivan felt the weight of command pressing down on her. If you're right, then we're not just discovering alien contact. We're discovering that humanity has a history we never knew about. Dr. Foster checked her genetic data again. Admiral, there's something else. The humans who carry the ancient genetic markers are not randomly distributed across Earth. They're concentrated in families that have historically produced leaders, scientists, and innovators. It's like certain bloodlines were designed to guide human development. Colonel Turner stood up and walked to the window that looked out over the lunar surface. If we're right about any of this, then Earth might not be as safe as we thought. If there are other human civilizations out there, why haven't they made contact? And if there are alien civilizations, what do they think about humans spreading across the galaxy? Professor Johnson had one more piece of the puzzle. I found references in the ship's records to something called the Council. It appears to be a galactic government that includes multiple species, but humans are specifically mentioned as being restricted from certain areas of space. Admiral Sullivan made her decision. We keep investigating, but we also prepare for the possibility that we're not alone and we're not welcome. Helen, I want your team to learn everything possible about human origins. Alex, work with Earth's military leaders to develop contingency plans. If we're about to meet our galactic neighbors, we need to be ready for anything. Dr. Martinez was working late in her laboratory when the security alarms began ringing throughout Luna Base. She looked up from her analysis of the ancient star charts to see armed guards taking positions outside her lab. Someone was coming, and Admiral Sullivan wanted to make sure they arrived safely. The someone turned out to be Director Susan Walsh, a woman Helen had never met, but whose reputation preceded her. Susan Walsh was rumored to work for intelligence agencies so secret that even Admiral Sullivan only knew parts of what they did. She was tall and moved with the confidence of someone who had seen things that would terrify normal people. Dr. Martinez, Susan said as she entered the lab, I represent an organization that has been waiting a long time to meet you. Helen saved her work and turned to face the mysterious visitor. What kind of organization waits for archaeologists? Susan smiled, but it was not a warm smile. The kind that has been collecting evidence about human origins for over 100 years. We call ourselves the Terran Heritage Foundation, and we have information that will change everything you think you know about your discoveries, Admiral. Sullivan entered the lab along with the rest of Helen's research team. Director Walsh has clearance to see everything we've found, Kate said. She also has evidence that we need to see. Susan activated a portable hologram projector and filled the lab with images. That made everyone stop talking. The images showed archaeological sites from around Earth, but not sites that any of them recognized. Ancient ruins built with technology that looked similar to what they had found on Jake Morrison's alien ship. These sites have been hidden from public knowledge for decades, Susan explained. My organization has been quietly excavating and studying them, while making sure that academic archaeologists never found them. We learned long ago that humanity's true history is too dangerous. For general knowledge, Professor Johnson studied the holographic ruins. These structures show the same mathematical precision as the ship's symbols, the same architectural principles. Where are these sites located? All over Earth, Susan replied. Deep underground, hidden in remote locations, concealed beneath modern cities. The builders of these sites had technology that makes our current space program look primitive. Dr. Foster was already thinking about the genetic implications. You know about the ancient genetic markers, don't you? You know which families carry them. Susan nodded. We've been tracking those bloodlines for generations. The Patterson family, the Chen family, the Okafor family, and others. We call them heritage lines, and we've discovered that they produce individuals with abilities that normal humans don't have. Colonel Turner stepped forward. What kind of abilities? Enhanced problem-solving skills, faster healing rates, intuitive understanding of advanced technology, and most importantly, the ability to interface directly with predecessor systems, Susan said. Agent Kevin Brooks is one of our field operatives, and he carries heritage line genetics. Kevin, show them what you can do. A young man who had been standing quietly near the door walked over to the alien data storage device that Professor Johnson had been trying to decode. Kevin placed his hand on the device and it immediately activated, displaying complex star charts and technical specifications in perfect detail. I don't understand how it works, Kevin said, but when I touch predecessor technology, I can feel what it's supposed to do. It's like remembering something I never learned. Helen stared at the activated device. We've been trying to access that data for weeks. You did it in seconds. Susan continued her presentation. The Terran Heritage Foundation has identified over 300 ancient sites on Earth. We've also detected artificial structures on Mars, Europa, and several asteroids in the outer solar system, all of them built by the same advanced human civilization that created the ship Captain Morrison found. Admiral Sullivan had been listening quietly, but now she asked the crucial question. What happened to this advanced civilization? Why did they leave Earth? We believe they didn't leave, Susan said. We believe they became us. The genetic evidence suggests that modern humanity is the result of an advanced human civilization that deliberately modified their own genetics to create a new generation, capable of surviving some kind of galactic catastrophe. Dr. Foster understood. Immediately, genetic stasis. They turned themselves into a form that could survive and slowly reawaken their original abilities. Over thousands of years, exactly, Susan said. And that awakening is happening now. Human technological development in the last 500 years has been exponential because we're not learning new things. We're remembering old things. Kevin Brooks walked over to another piece of predecessor technology and activated it with a touch. Director Walsh, we have a problem. This device is receiving signals from outside the solar system. Susan's expression became serious. What kind of signals? Warning signals, Kevin replied. Someone knows that we've found predecessor technology, and they're not happy about it. Colonel Turner was already thinking tactically. Unknown ships have been detected at the edge of our solar system. If they're hostile, and they have technology superior to ours, Earth could be in serious danger. Susan activated another hologram, showing the positions of the unknown ships. We've been tracking them for weeks. They're maintaining position outside the range of our deep space sensors, but they're definitely watching us. Professor Johnson had been studying the warning signals that Kevin's device was receiving. These signals are in the same symbolic language as the ship's records. They're telling us to stop our investigations and return all predecessor artifacts to their original locations. Helen Martinez felt a chill run through her. They want us to put the ship back where we found it and pretend we never discovered it. Who are they? Admiral Sullivan asked. Susan looked around the room at the assembled team. According to our research, there's a galactic government called the Council that includes representatives from multiple alien species. They've been monitoring Earth for centuries, and they have strict rules about human development. Dr. Foster was running calculations on her computer. If there's a galactic civilization that's been watching us, why haven't they made contact? What are they afraid of? Kevin Brooks activated another predecessor device, and suddenly the lab filled with holographic records showing vast fleets of human ships traveling between the stars. The images showed humans working alongside multiple alien species in what appeared to be a peaceful galactic civilization. "They're afraid of this," Susan said, gesturing at the holographic fleet. "They're afraid of humans reclaiming their position as galactic leaders." Colonel Turner studied the fleet images. "These ships are far more advanced than anything we have now. If we could build ships like these, we wouldn't need anyone's permission to explore the galaxy." Admiral Sullivan made a command decision. "Director Walsh, I'm placing your organization under military authority for this crisis. We need to combine our resources and figure out how to respond to this situation." Susan nodded. "Admiral, there's something else you need to know. We've located other predecessor facilities throughout human space. Sites on Mars, hidden bases in the asteroid belt, and what appears to be a major command center on one of Jupiter's moons." "How long have you known about these sites?" Kate asked. "Decades," Susan replied, "but we've never had individuals with heritage line genetics who could activate them. Kevin and others like him are the key to accessing our true heritage." Kevin was still interfacing with the predecessor device. "Director, I'm getting more signals. The alien ships are moving closer to Earth. They're going to demand that we surrender all predecessor technology." Helen Martinez looked at the star charts showing dozens of hidden predecessor facilities waiting to be activated. "We have a choice to make. We can give up our discoveries and remain under alien supervision, or we can activate these facilities and reclaim our birthright." Colonel Turner checked his tactical display. "How many people on Earth carry heritage line genetics?" "Approximately 200 million people worldwide," Susan said. "Most don't know about their genetic heritage, but they all have the potential to interface with predecessor technology." Admiral Sullivan understood the implications. "If we activate the predecessor facilities, we'll be starting a conflict with this galactic council." "The conflict already started when Captain Morrison found that ship," Susan replied. "The question is whether we face it as primitive humans begging for alien approval, or as the inheritors of the most advanced civilization the galaxy has ever known." Kevin Brooks looked up from the predecessor device with excitement in his eyes. "Admiral, I've accessed the navigation systems. There are predecessor facilities all over the galaxy, waiting for humans to return and activate them. We're not just Earth's children, we're the galaxy's rightful rulers." Dr. Foster stood in her laboratory, surrounded by genetic analysis equipment, and stared at results. That changed everything she thought she knew about human evolution. The data was clear and impossible to ignore. Humans were not naturally evolved creatures from Earth. They were engineered beings designed by an advanced civilization that had possessed technology beyond anything currently known to science. "Admiral, you need to see this immediately," Nina called over the communication system. Within minutes, Admiral Sullivan arrived with Director Walsh and the rest of the research team. Nina activated her main display screen and showed them genetic maps that looked like engineering blueprints rather than natural evolution patterns. "I've completed the full analysis of the heritage line genetics," Nina began. "What I found proves that humans are not Earth natives. Our genetic structure shows clear signs of deliberate design and modification." Professor Johnson studied the genetic maps. "These patterns are too complex and too perfect to be natural. Someone built the human genome like an engineer builds a machine, not someone," Nina corrected. "The predecessors built us, but they didn't build us from scratch. They built us from themselves. Humans are genetically modified predecessors, designed to survive in a reduced state until certain conditions were met." Director Walsh had been expecting this discovery. "Our research suggests that the predecessors faced a galactic catastrophe that threatened all advanced life. Their solution was to transform themselves into a form that could survive and slowly reawaken when the danger passed." Kevin Brooks was working with another predecessor device when it suddenly activated on its own and filled the room with a holographic image of a being that looked completely human but wore clothing and technology far beyond current Earth capabilities. "Greetings, children of the Starways," the hologram said in perfect English. "If you are seeing this message, Then the awakening protocols have begun, and you have discovered your true heritage. Everyone in the room stopped talking and stared at the hologram. The being appeared to be a tall human male with features that could have come from any Earth population, but his eyes held knowledge that seemed to span millennia. I am Command Prime Alexander, last leader of the predecessor alliance. This message was recorded 50,000 years ago, as our civilization prepared for the Great Transformation. If you are receiving this transmission, then our experiment has succeeded and humanity is ready to reclaim its position among the stars. Helen Martinez activated her recording equipment. This is the proof we needed. Direct confirmation that humans are descendants of an advanced galactic civilization. The holographic figure continued. The transformation was necessary because the galaxy faced destruction from forces that sought to eliminate all advanced life. We could not preserve our civilization in its current form, so we preserved it within ourselves. Each human carries the genetic memory of our greatest achievements, waiting to be awakened when the time was right. Colonel Turner understood the military implications immediately. This explains why humans have advanced so rapidly in the last few centuries. We're not developing new technology, we're remembering old technology. The awakening process is automatic and will accelerate as more humans gain access to our preserved knowledge. The hologram explained, those who carry the strongest genetic markers will be able to interface directly with our technology and facilities. They will become the leaders of humanity's return to its rightful place in galactic civilization. Kevin Brooks felt a strange sensation as the hologram spoke directly to him. You carry the command genetics, young inheritor. You have the ability to activate our greatest facilities and access our most advanced technology. Director Walsh looked at Kevin with new understanding. The Heritage Foundation has been tracking families like yours for generations, not knowing we were identifying the future leaders of galactic humanity. The hologram activated additional displays showing the locations of predecessor facilities. Throughout the galaxy, our installations exist on thousands of worlds, waiting for human activation. Each facility contains the knowledge and technology needed to rebuild our civilization. But be warned, other species have grown comfortable in our absence and may resist your return. Admiral Sullivan asked the question everyone was thinking. What about the Galactic Council that's been monitoring Earth? The Council was established by species we once guided and protected. The hologram replied, after our transformation, they took control of galactic civilization. They have maintained order, but they fear our return because it would end their dominance. Dr. Foster had been analyzing the genetic awakening process. According to this data, human abilities will continue to develop rapidly. Enhanced healing, improved intelligence, intuitive understanding of advanced technology. All of this is programmed into our genetics. The awakening cannot be stopped, the hologram confirmed. It is built into the human genome and will continue until all humans have access to their full heritage. The only question is whether the process happens peacefully or through conflict. Colonel Turner studied the tactical displays. The unknown ships at the edge of our solar system are Council forces. They're here to prevent human awakening. The Council will attempt to contain humanity as they have for centuries, the hologram said. They have been subtly interfering with human development, slowing your progress and keeping you isolated. But their interference is no longer sufficient to prevent the awakening. Kevin Brooks touched another control panel and activated a display showing Earth's true history. The images showed ancient human civilizations that had possessed advanced technology before mysteriously disappearing. Our ancestors built these civilizations as preparation for the return. Each one carried forward pieces of predecessor knowledge until humanity was ready for full awakening. Helen Martinez realized the scope of what they were learning. Every ancient mystery on Earth, the pyramids, Stonehenge, the Nazca lines, they were all built by humans who carried predecessor genetics and were slowly remembering their heritage. The next phase begins now, the hologram announced. Human fleets will be constructed using preserved designs. Colonies will be established throughout the galaxy. The predecessor alliance will be reborn under human leadership. Director Walsh understood that humanity stood at a turning point. We can accept Council supervision and remain limited to our current Capabilities, or we can embrace our heritage and face the consequences. Admiral Sullivan made the decision that would change galactic history. Director Walsh, I want your people to activate every predecessor facility we can reach. Kevin, you'll lead teams to the major installations and begin the awakening process. The Council has been controlling our development for too long. The hologram began to fade, but left them with a final message. Remember, children of the Starways, you are not conquerors seeking to dominate others. You are inheritors reclaiming what was always yours. Guide the galaxy with wisdom and strength, as your ancestors did before the Great Transformation. Kevin Brooks felt power flowing through him as he interfaced with the predecessor systems. Admiral, I can access the facility on Europa. It contains the blueprints for building ships that can travel anywhere in the galaxy instantly. Dr. Foster checked her analysis of the awakening process. The genetic changes are accelerating in people throughout human space. Within months, millions of humans will have enhanced abilities and intuitive knowledge of advanced technology. Colonel Turner monitored the tactical situation. The Council ships are moving into attack positions. They're preparing to prevent U.S. from reaching the predecessor facilities. Admiral Sullivan looked at her team and knew that humanity's quiet existence as a minor galactic species was ending. Then we better reach those facilities first. It's time for humanity to come home. President Linda Garcia stood in the Situation Room deep beneath the White House and listened to reports that sounded like science fiction but were undeniably real. Admiral Sullivan's briefing had taken 3 hours and covered discoveries that would reshape humanity's understanding of itself and its place in the universe. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, Linda said to the assembled leaders of Earth's governments who had been called to this emergency session. Humans are descendants of an advanced galactic civilization. We have been under alien supervision for centuries, and now we face a choice between accepting that supervision or reclaiming our heritage through potentially galactic war. Director Walsh activated a holographic display showing Council ships positioned throughout the solar system. Madam President, the choice may have already been made for us. The Council has issued an ultimatum: surrender all predecessor artifacts and accept permanent Council oversight or face military intervention. Admiral Sullivan added the military perspective. Our current space forces are no match for Council technology. However, Kevin Brooks and his team have successfully activated the predecessor facility on Europa. We now have access to ship designs and weapons that could change the balance of power. Kevin Brooks stood at a control console that had been transported from Europa to Earth. His hands moved over the alien controls as naturally as if he had been using them his entire life. Madam President, I can activate predecessor facilities throughout human space. Each activation will provide us with more advanced technology and more capabilities. Professor Johnson had been studying the Council's ultimatum. The language there using suggests they see humans as a threat that must be contained rather than a species that should be eliminated. They want us alive, but powerless. Dr. Foster had completed her analysis of the genetic awakening process. The changes are accelerating beyond our original predictions. Heritage line individuals are developing abilities that border on the supernatural: enhanced strength, rapid healing, and most importantly, intuitive mastery of any technology they encounter. Dr. Martinez had been studying the historical records from activated predecessor facilities. The original predecessor civilization ruled the galaxy for over 1 million years. They maintained peace between hundreds of species and guided the development of interstellar civilization. The current Council is made up of species that were once their subjects. President Garcia looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders. What are the consequences if we choose to embrace our predecessor heritage? Colonel Turner answered from his tactical analysis station. Short term, we face immediate conflict with the Council and any species that support them. Long term, we become the dominant civilization in the galaxy and assume responsibility for maintaining galactic order. And if we accept Council oversight? Linda asked. Director Walsh had been monitoring Council communications. Permanent restriction to our current solar system. Genetic modification to prevent further awakening of predecessor abilities. And acceptance of council representatives in all human governments. Kevin Brooks looked up from his control console. Madam President, there's something else you need to know. The awakening process cannot be reversed or stopped. Even if we tried to accept council terms, the genetic changes would continue. Humans throughout space are already developing enhanced abilities whether we want them to or not. Admiral Sullivan confirmed Kevin's assessment. We're receiving reports from colonies throughout human space of individuals spontaneously gaining access to heritage abilities. Captain Morrison's crew has successfully activated a major facility in the Kepler sector, and they're reporting that ordinary colonists are beginning to operate advanced technology. Without training, President Garcia realized that humanity was facing the most important decision in its history. How long do we have before the Council takes action? According to their ultimatum, 72 hours, Admiral Sullivan replied. Dr. Foster had been monitoring the genetic changes in real time. Madam President, in 72 hours, approximately 50 million humans will have developed some level of heritage abilities. The Council cannot contain that many enhanced individuals even if they wanted to. Director Walsh activated another display showing predecessor facilities throughout the galaxy. Our research indicates there are over 10,000 major installations waiting for human activation. Each one contains the technology to build fleets, establish colonies, and govern galactic civilization. Kevin Brooks felt a surge of knowledge flowing through his connection to the predecessor systems. Madam President, I'm accessing records that show the original reason for the Great Transformation. The galaxy was facing invasion by beings from outside our reality, entities that could only be defeated by temporarily reducing advanced civilizations to a primitive state. Professor Johnson studied the new information. You're saying the predecessors transformed themselves to hide from invaders from another dimension. Not to hide, Kevin corrected. To survive long enough for the invaders to move on to other realities. The genetic programming includes instructions for detecting and defending against these entities. If they return, Colonel Turner understood the implications. We're not just inheriting an advanced civilization. We're inheriting the responsibility to defend this galaxy against threats that other species cannot handle. President Garcia made her decision. Admiral Sullivan, begin the awakening process at all known facilities. Director Walsh, coordinate with governments worldwide to manage the transition. Kevin, I want you to establish contact with human colonies and begin organizing our response to the Council ultimatum. Admiral Sullivan saluted. Yes, Madam President. How should we respond to the Council's demands? Linda Garcia looked at the holographic display showing Earth surrounded by alien ships. Tell them that humanity appreciates their concern for galactic stability and that we look forward to working with them as equal partners in maintaining peace among the stars. Director Walsh smiled, a diplomatic way of saying we reject their ultimatum. Exactly. Linda replied, we're not declaring war, but we're making it clear that the age of human dependence is over. Kevin Brooks activated communication systems that reached across the galaxy instantly. Madam President, I'm in contact with predecessor facilities on over 1,000 worlds. Humans everywhere are responding to the awakening call. Dr. Martinez had been studying the long-term implications. We're essentially becoming a galactic empire overnight. The responsibility is enormous. The predecessors prepared us for this responsibility over 50,000 years. Dr. Foster added, every human carries genetic programming for leadership, cooperation, and wisdom. We're not the same species that fought wars over resources and territory. Admiral Sullivan received an urgent message from Captain Morrison. Madam President, the Horizon has successfully activated a major shipyard facility. They report that construction of advanced vessels has begun automatically, and that human colonists are intuitively understanding how to operate the new technology. Colonel Turner monitored the tactical situation. Council ships are moving into attack positions around Earth and our major colonies. They're preparing for military action. President Garcia stood and addressed the room. Then we better be ready. For them, humanity has spent 50,000 years preparing for this moment. We've been guided by wisdom encoded in our very DNA and supported by technology. that spans the galaxy. Kevin Brooks felt the full scope of the predecessor network coming. Online, Madam President, human fleets are launching from hidden facilities throughout the galaxy. Ships that can travel faster than light and carry weapons that can defend entire star systems. Dr. Foster monitored the genetic awakening process. Enhanced humans are emerging on every world we've colonized. They're not just gaining individual abilities, they're connecting to a collective knowledge that spans our entire species. Admiral Sullivan received confirmation from across human space. All colonies report successful facility activation. The awakening process is complete and irreversible. President Garcia looked out at the stars through the room's observation window. Then it's time to introduce the Galactic Council to humanity's true potential. We're going home to the stars. And this time, we're staying. The age of human expansion had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.